Hi everyone, Vickieverlie here, the Rock and Roll Prophetess. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to be taking a look at the new moon in Aries, which is happening the day after the Ingress chart, the Aries Ingress. It's happening in Eastern time. It'll be 3-2-1-2-3-1-2-3. These numbers are just crazy. So it's almost like, 3-2-1 blast off. Or, 1, 2, 3, let's get things moving. 4, let's keep this progression going. Let's keep progressing. Let's keep moving forward. Yeah, this is very, very similar to the Aries Ingress chart, which I've been doing a lot of lately. If you want to get your chart looked at as to this Aries Ingress thing, this would be your time to do it. It's going to be available only till the end of this month. And a lot of people are ordering. And a quick note on that, if you have ordered or are going to order, when I respond in the email, I always do say allow 7 to 10 days for your reading to be complete, 7 to 10 days turnaround. So when I'm in a busy season like this, it might be the full 10 days. So, I've got your info. As long as I've got your info and we've responded, you're going to get your reading. Don't worry. Just have some patience. With all this Aries energy, that's not a lot about patience. This is about chomping at the bit, wanting to get ready to go. It's the new season of the Aries Ingress, which of course happens every year. But this year is so important and pivotal because of the change of Saturn and the almost change of Pluto. It's getting ready to change in a couple days, like 2 days after this. But before we get into all that, let's start over here because there is a major influx of Aries energy, clearly, right? We have the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Chiron, Jupiter, and Vesta, all in the sign of Aries. This is so, so powerful. This is like new beginnings. I'm hearing out the wazoo. That's an old-time term. By the way, this is definitely a psychic or intuitive astrology reading, so I will be coloring outside the lines quite a bit. And so if you're a really strict astrologer and you don't like that, then maybe this isn't the forecast for you. But on the other hand, if you don't know astrology at all, it's going to be based in astrology, but there's a lot of embellishment through my guides, you could say. Okay. So yeah, all this under Aries energy. It's kind of broken down, and this is true during the Ingress too, it's kind of broken down into these two camps here. We've got the low degrees of the Sun and Moon at 0 Aries, and then this Mercury here. So a lot of talking. Good time for communication, good time for initiating communication, good time for, sending out that email, sending that DM. Things that you've been thinking about initiating for quite some time, this would be the time to do it, especially if it has to do with mercurial types of things, communication, writing of, letters, emails, DMs, whatever the texts, whatever the case may be. Very powerful. The message will get through. That's what they're saying. Even look at the numbers here. You've got 0050, 0505. You got 00. There's all these repeating numbers here. And with my guides, what they did talk about when I did ask them about that at one point in the books, they said that it goes off into infinity. It's not like when you see 1111. It's not that it's 1111. It's like this portal where it's not just, oops, sorry about that. Let me get on a good layer here. It's not just this 1111. It goes off into infinity, but we can only, we're seeing, a perceived, a small portion of a perceived universe or something like that. I mean, it's really some cool, deep stuff. But at any rate, these repeating patterns is another thing. It's like time to act, time to get in sync with the universe, time to be in line with our universal soul path, which I'll get into when we get over here to this whole North Node thing. Before we go there, though, then there's this other camp here in the Aries energy. When we got the Chiron Jupiter is mostly what I've been concentrating on in the readings. Vesta is there as well, but the Chiron Jupiter, this is another message that came through from my guides, and it came through in this context in a personal reading that I was doing of the Aries Ingress, and it's so apropos, I feel, because Jupiter was in Pisces. We've got these two Pisces energy. Chiron was in Pisces for a long time, and this came through in my channelings. Completely different thing, but it applies to this as well. There's these splinters. We have this pain, this hidden pain, this Pisces, this sorrow, this karmic pain from past life, from our soul lineage, from our family of origin lineage, and we have all this pain, and it manifests in our lives in all sorts of different ways, but we don't always know Where did this really come from? Where is the root? This, it's like a festering wound, like a splinter. And the guides told me this analogy a long time ago. And then, you know, with this Aries energy and the Chiron conjunct Jupiter, you can see, there's the source. There's the source of the festering wound. And it can be plucked out. So the wound could really heal, you know. So this is about taking action in our wounds. Because the Chiron is the thing, that is those generational wounds. That is the thing that we carry in from past lives, our self-sabotage, our imposter syndrome, our, you know, where we wound ourselves over and over and over again until we are enlightened. Until we realize the potential of our full selves, because that is the story of Chiron. And I actually have that Aries Ingress painting class if you want. And we really take a deep dive into, it's a good exercise through creativity to, you know, explore, you know, these things. The story of Chiron, you know, he was a brute, or he was one of the centaurs, and they were considered, you know, ignorant, brute, animalistic, you know, and he was taken in by Apollo, I believe, and Apollo's sister, and he was taught and he was educated, and he became, you know, this shining example, I guess, of what, you know, the potential of, I was going to say the human potential, but he wasn't he's not a human. You know, but it's a, you know, this shining example. And the saying from Maya Angelou comes to mind: when we know better, we do better. So we've learned through, well, there's more to discover with the Pisces stuff. We'll get to that. But we've learned through the journey of Pisces, and now we're taking a new turn. We have this fresh new start. The Jupiter can help show us where the Chiron, show us these Chiron wounds, that have been hidden, where we keep doing these same things, where we keep hitting this wall and we don't know why. There's something that's causing this, you know. Well, sometimes it's just, you know, we need to go the different way. It could be just that simple. Many times it can be. But the Jupiter can really show you, with accentuating this Chiron, bringing this Chiron out, it can really show us where the root of it lies, and what action that we can take to pluck that splinter, so the wound may finally heal, and we may have our, you know, our fresh, shiny, wonderful new beginnings that's promised in the Aries energy. Before we get to that, let's jump over here, because another thing that's happening, there's this, and this is also, of course, in the Aries Ingress. I'm just, you know, a little bit of a learning curve on this, but I think it's going to be a better in the long run, so bear with me if I mess up with the layers. But anyways, so here, look at this. So we've got, well, it's Juno's exact, but in the Aries Ingress, it's more tight orb with the North Node Venus. The North Node is always trying to call us all to our truest soul's calling. And when it's the transiting North Node in the moment, it's to the collective. You know, the collective, we're being called to our highest soul's calling through the Venus and Taurus energy, because, of course, it's the same. Taurus, Venus, you know, it's all the same energy. So we got to look to that Venus-Taurus energy to call us to our true soul's calling. You know, right away I think of creativity, number one, as, you know, well, you think of love, creativity, and you think of money, because those are all the realm of Venus-Taurus energy in the second house, basically. So we're called, you know, right away, of course, I go for the creativity. Because I've seen, you know, how creativity can transmute trauma, pain, you know, and it doesn't have to be through taking my art class, although many people could benefit from it, and I certainly have benefited through art more than anything, because I'm a musician, I'm a writer. I would call myself a musician first before an artist, but the art really has been, you know, transformative, you know, when you use it in this healing way. And, you know, you could take my Aries Ingress class, or you could break out your art supplies or whatever, or you could just sit and doodle. You know, that's that cognitive, that's just tapping, any way to, like, get out of your mind, because, you know, the mind is going to be real active here, too. The mind is going to be real active, the mind is going to be real talkative. With the Aries energy, there could be conflicts, you know, because Aries was, I want my way. I know I'm the right, you know, there could be arguments and stuff like that. But there's this outlet, or through music, and, you know, money too. But really, I'm feeling more about this, you know, this creativity, music, arts, even if it's not anything you're going to try to do for a career, it can help. It can help purge. It can help. It can help get you in the Venusian state of mind and bring in all this Piscean energy as well. It can, so there can be a clearing. So you can move unseen and seen and known obstacles out of your way. So you can charge forward, you know, on this blaze these new trails that the Aries energy is really wanting to do, you know. I'm just going to pull out my notes for the Aries Ingress. Yeah, so the Jupiter conjunct Chiron. Yeah, that's a thing. The Neptune is, you know, let's go over here and let's start in with the Neptune energy, because it's, look at this. It's like there's nothing in here anymore except Neptune at the very end of it and Saturn at the very beginning of it. So it's like we've got this 12th house, this Piscean energy. We're blocking it off here. Neptune is gone through its own sign. There's been a lot of cleansing. It's gone through, I'm not sure, it's been many years though since Neptune went in Pisces. So it's been going through its own sign. It's been so in its power. It's been using this water energy to clear away all the debris and all the gunk and all the stuff. It's getting, you know, cleared away. And then here comes Saturn. Now Saturn wants to come through and make a new foundation. Well, it wants to make a new foundation in the sign of Pisces. So what does that mean? What does Pisces rule? Well, Pisces talks about dreams, inspiration, the subconscious mind, the collective unconscious, past lives. 12th house is past lives. So it's all this stuff that's not quite tangible. You know, it's the fish in the water and everything. Saturn is the antithesis of the fish in the water because it's very much on solid ground. It's earth. It's in the earth plane. It wants to see material things materialize. But that doesn't mean that they can't work together. You know, not quite the contrary, because Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, and Neptune, you know, these are, this is a sextile. This is earth and water, and water feeds earth. They can work together fairly well, you know. Saturn can. You can work with this. Here's how you can work with the Saturn energy. It's not, you can't just be like, oh, well, it's this, so let's just be depressed and call it a day, you know. Well, let's dive in. Well, how can you work with that Saturn energy? Saturn can give structure to your dreams. Saturn can give structure to that creative thing. It can give, with all this Mercury and Aries energy, you can give words to things that are not untangible, or, you know, that are, because it's so, you know, and even like doing the channeling, you know, they say again and again, you know, language is a construct of this reality. Everywhere else, it's all, you know, it's just through the subconscious. There's no words are spoken, you know, and where thoughts can't hide, you know, things can't hide. Things that have been hidden can really come to light, and you can be dealt with once and for all too. Where there's been, you know, if we want to take it into, because the darker side of the Pisces energy is, well, it's drugs and alcohol, but it's also mental illness. That's another downside of the Pisces energy. But it's also like things hidden or misconstrued, or, you know, just not clear, you know. This can really bring it into clear. Let's get this settled once and for all. What's really going on here? Let's make a foundation. Let's set some rules or some boundaries or some guidelines. Let's not just be all out there floating around in whatever, you know. Let's hone it in, make a plan, and utilize. Because it's I use. I talked about that before. It's I use. So I use this dreamy energy, and I use, combined with all this mental energy here, combined with all this Venusian creative and love energy. And I mean, it could be phenomenal. The creation, things that are created during this time could be just phenomenal. Okay. Well, yeah, the Pluto is about to change signs, but it just really hasn't yet. You know, it just really hasn't yet. It's going to be, like I said, the 23rd here in the U.S. Eastern Time, but times will vary, but it's just on the very precipice. It's interesting to me over this week that these banks are collapsing. I was not expecting that. So as it came in, when it came into 0 Capricorn back in 2008, you know, that was the time of the financial crisis when Pluto was over here. You know, Pluto went 0 Capricorn back in 2008, and it's gone, it's all these years later, 15 years later, and it's getting ready to leave out of Capricorn and go into Aquarius. And the same themes are coming up. So it makes me think that, you know, I've noticed this surely in my own life, you know, that some of the same themes in our individual lives could be coming back that were 08. I've definitely been back in the 08 zone. Like I've been processing a lot, because that's when I closed my family's bar. It was, you know, all that stuff. It went down, and that's been just coming up and coming up and coming up. I don't think about it on a daily basis normally. You know, I just don't. It's like it's in the rear view. You know, good riddance. Well, not good riddance. I have good memories too, but you know. I don't think about it as much as I have been, or it's just been coming up. I've been running into people from the bar, and not without changing my daily routine whatsoever. This is also on my South Node, so there's that. So, you know, but it's, you know, I thought it was just me. Oh, it's my South Node. All these people from the past are showing up. All this stuff about the bar keeps popping up again all of a sudden. But here we go. There's been a few banks financial. I don't feel like it's going to be like a full-blown 2008 all over again. I'm not feeling that myself, but it's hearkening back to that same time frame. So think about that in your own life, you know. Think about that, your own life, just what was going on, aside from if you had financial collapses or, you know, housing issues, but just like, who were you then? You know, who were you? I'm sure you've been transformed. I'm sure we all have been, you know. And I'm sure we're going to continue. We're going to continue to be transformed, you know, as a group, you know, as a collective, as Pluto moves into Aquarius. You know, the 11th house, you know, this is the sign of the collective. You know, so, you know, and Aquarius is the collective of, you know, the group. So more and more it's going to be like that. But it's good to think back to that. That's just some crazy synchronicities I've been, you know, noticing lately. You know, it's hard because none of us were alive when Pluto went into Aquarius the last time. I did a whole video on that, by the way. I'll link to it up into, you know, the notes up here. You know, none of us were alive back then, in this body anyway. I feel many of us were alive in past lives during that time, and we're coming back to do it again, you know, on a few different levels with the Saturn energy too. I feel definitely, I've said this before, but in case you didn't hear me say it before, I feel definitely that you know, people, because this is the United States, just had its Pluto return, this was the revolution and all that stuff. I feel like definitely people in the United States were here the last time too, and we're here again, you know, in the United States again. But beyond that, you know, there is this big transformation of the collective. So what I was saying is we don't really have anything in this lifetime to compare it to. But we can. It's interesting how these events, again, from 2008, are sort of coming back around. At least in my case, and then with the banking collapse too. You have to let me know in the comments, you know, if anybody of you have experienced some similar things, because I'm sure there's plenty of it. In addition to all this, you know, 20 high degrees of 28, 29, etc. There's more. There's Mars. Mars has moved forward. It's at 28 degrees. We've got Neptune at 25. We've got Pluto at 29, which are all still, by the way, aspecting the Saturn, because the Saturn, you know, even though it's 1 degree, if something's at 29, that's just 2 degrees off. So that's an out of sign conjunction. So it goes up to 29, and then it comes back to 0. This is how the wheel goes. Round and round she goes. And it goes on forever and ever like that. So we are at this transitionary point. The nodes, it's not going to be long before the nodes get down, because the nodes move backwards. They're going to go down. I think it's May maybe. They're going to be going down and changing signs as well. So we are at this pivotal point. We are at this, they want to say apex, but this transitionary point. And talking again about the 0 degrees, well, here we go, 29, 0. There's the 0 Aries, you know. every year we have a new moon in Aries, but I mean, I do these Aries Ingress readings every year, and there's never, you know, I can't remember a new moon being on there anytime recently. Maybe, but it's not. It's a pretty rare thing. You know, usually it's just the new moon is wherever. You know, so at this big time, it's like everything's lining up. If it ever were a time to make some kind of big change, to take some kind of leap of faith, because that's a lot of the Aries energy. It's just taking. It's like the Fool in the tarot. It's just like, yeah, I'll just go put myself out there, and, you know, they don't overthink it. You know, with the Mercury there could be a little bit of overthinking, but in general, the Aries energy is not. Pisces, yeah, we're thinking things through. Aries, not so much. Aries is all about, you know, it's childlike. But it's best. At its very best, it's trusting that the universe is gonna, you know, pick me up, like the Fool card. He's starting on this new journey. You know, the tarot is the same way. It goes around in this big cycle. He's leaving the baggage behind. He's only got this little bag on his little dog, and that's it. And he's got his happy flower, and he's about to the spectator, he might be about to walk off the cliff. That, you know, going back with this whole thing with that bar, everybody said, "What, are you crazy? You can't do that. No, 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 no." But I trusted the universe. And was there some hard times? Yeah, there was definitely some hard times, you know. But I'm so much better for it. I mean, I swear to God, I probably would be dead if I'd stayed there. My whole family was dead, you know. So, and that's the energy of Pluto too, because Pluto is death and rebirth, and it, you know, it can be like literal death. So, I mean, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just saying what the energy is conducive to. And of course, you don't just want to throw your life away because you watched some YouTube video. Let me get a drink of water. And I'm sure nobody would be that, you know, crazy. But there's also, you know, this Saturn is also, oops, sorry, I keep doing that. I'll get the hang of it. The Saturn is doing a trine and sextile to the nodes. So we are all being called to our true soul's calling here. The node is all about, you know, our true soul's calling and our past life karma. The Saturn is the lord of the karma. And I've said it time and time again, Saturn is not the bad guy. Saturn just wants to get things straight. Saturn can, like, again, working with that Saturn energy, anything you want to give legs to, anything you need to get a foundation going, anything with it being in Pisces, again, anything that's just been in the dreamy ethers of the universe, or in your imagination, or, you know, or it just could be so many things. You can give legs to it. Major downloads. These guys got that, the two outer planets here, they've got this Pisces energy locked and loaded. Neptune's like, it's almost like, you know, this is Neptune's house. You know, we're talking about Neptune, the ruler of this. This is Neptune's house. And he's almost like he's welcoming Saturn in. It's like, okay, Saturn, you can come in. we're going to work together because you're in my house and I'm here too. I'm not off dealing with somebody else's energy. I'm fully empowered in my own energy. I will let you in my home, but we're going to work together. You know, it feels like he's like, okay, come on in, Saturn, you can stay. You can stay, but here's, you know, this is how we roll. It's you know, it's not just like you're just going to squash dreams, because that's a lot of things that people say, oh, Saturn and Pisces, it'll squash your dreams, you know. You're going to work with me. We're going to work together. We're going to work together, and we're going to, you know, have this infinity of possibilities that could spring forth through our collaboration and our co-creation. And then, you know, Pluto's going to kick over here and bring in the whole gang. So it's so super powerful times. You know, my guides always say in the channelings, you know, we volunteered to be here. It's an exciting time. Revel in it, you know, to be here firsthand. And here's another thing with the Saturn energy, talking along these lines with my guides and stuff. They always say, even if you're not a spiritual teacher or whatever, if you don't think you're not making a difference in the world, you are just by your energy. If everybody can aspire to their highest beautiful Venusian energy, and be in, you know, bringing in their higher self, their soul through the Pisces energy, then that's what's needed. It's not, we have such a three-dimensional view on things, and that can be some of the Aries thing, like, okay, what are we going to do? I want to take action. You know, it feels like the Aries are like border collies or something, you know. It's like, we got to do, always got to do something. They're not, you know, and, you know, these energies, the Taurus and the Pisces, are more like, you know, I don't know, some kind of big dog, whatever, Saint Bernard, or one of these big dogs that just kind of, or a bloodhound. Pisces could be the bloodhound for sure, because they'll sniff out, you know, sniff out a secret, or sniff out something that's hidden. You know, they'll find it, they'll track it down. Not track it down, but they'll connect to it. You know. All right. I don't know if it's sense. We have to figure out where the sense of smell is. I'm not sure about that. That might be Aries, because Aries is the head and everything. But at any rate, it's powerful times. We volunteered to be here. Let's just roll into it. Let's just roll with it. Let's just, you know, do what we can to kind of get there, you know, to kind of be in that vibe. And we are all facilitators. That's what the guides are coming through with now. We are all facilitators. So we are all here to facilitate or give birth to the new earth, as some people would call it. They always call it the time after. My guides talk about it as the time after. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I wanted to have this up and ready to mention, but I don't. But I had an Instagram account, but I really wasn't using it because I just have a lot of social media. I can't do just everything. But I've been more active on it. But this would be if you're interested in my art. I know not everybody cares about my art stuff. So if I have two different accounts on. I have my regular one, which is just my name, of course, Vickieverlie. And I have another one. Well, actually, I can show you this one. I did manage to pull it up on my other tablet here. If it'll let me turn it. It's not going to let me turn it. But here, I'm going to start posting a lot more of my artwork on that, and little videos and stuff. So, if you know, I was kind of just ignoring it, not doing much with it. So if you were following me, you know, I am posting art-related stuff on here. And then I have completely another one. I don't know if I can find it really quick, but it's called Spirits in the Mist, all one word. And mist is spelled M-Y-S-T. And what I'm doing on there is this art that I'm doing with smoke art. It's not letting me do a search, or maybe it's up here. It's smoke art, and it's this art that revealed itself through the smoke. So Neptunian, you know, so cool. And what I'm doing, it's actually going to be a deck. I actually have it all laid out for a deck. The reason I here, then that would be this page, you know. So I'm posting a ton of stuff on that too. These are all my Spirits in the Mist. Well, what I did was, it's like mirror images, but it was crazy how it all came about. But if you're interested in the art and the creativity, and you're on Instagram, you know, if you want to follow me on either of those, it would be appreciated too. Now, as to the Aries Ingress, a lot of people have been ordering. Yeah, it's really been busy, and I'm thankful for that. You know, all these things that we talked about in this reading, the Pluto transit, the Saturn transit, the Venus North Node, the Chiron Jupiter, all this stuff, if you order the Aries Ingress reading, I'll look at that exactly how it pertains to your chart. I actually run your chart. I do a regular reading, I don't run charts. This is where I do run your chart. There's a bi-wheel, it'll be your chart, and then all the transits. And at these, you know, at this Aries Ingress time, it is the astrological new year, and it sets the tone for at least the upcoming season until we get to the solstice in June. But even for the whole year and beyond. And sometimes the transits I discuss are not, you know, go way beyond just this time frame. So if you do want a transit reading from me, this is the times I offer it. I offer it now, and then I'll offer it in the solstice. But, you know, this is with all this stuff going on. If you want to see how it's really affecting your chart, this would be the time to get it. You can get it just till the end of the month, okay? And again, there may be a full 10 days turnaround. You know, maybe not. You know, I'm doing my best to keep up, but I want to make sure that everybody really gets a good reading, and I really give you all my full attention, and I do a good job. So I'm trying to do my best to keep up, but, you know, it is what it is. But anyways, so thank you all for tuning in like you do and supporting me in the way you do, liking, sharing, commenting. Let me know again about that 2008, or even with the early 90s, you know, with the Pisces stuff. Saturn in Pisces was like 94 or something. What was going on then, and how has it come back around, you know? Be interesting to see, you know, from other people. I've definitely noticed some things, though. You know, liking, sharing, commenting, interacting with the channel, that gives that algorithm its food or what it needs, you know, whatever the case may be, and it costs you nothing. And it's always appreciated. By the way, too, the mid-month Patreon reading, the mid-month Taroscope for the Patreon peeps is up on Patreon. So if you want to get in on that, you can join Patreon. I think at the $5 level, you have access to those mid-month readings that I do there if you like the tarot readings more than the astrology. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much for all your support. Remember, you are love and beauty incarnate, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.